Metroidvanias. I don't play a lot of them. There's no specific reason for that, I just never really get around to buying them. However, even though I've played a grand total of 2 of them, I am comfortable with saying I like the genre, mainly because their core gameplay is so simple. It's all about locks and keys. Find a place you can't go, find an item that allows you to get there, backtrack, and open the lock. This is a gameplay loop I'm incredibly familiar with from The Legend of Zelda, which, while you wouldn't really call it a Metroidvania, operates in much the same way. The other reason I'm comfortable with saying I like the genre is that the Metroidvania I had played before this video, Hollow Knight, is my favorite game of all time. So, needless to say, I expected a lot from one of the most influential games of the genre, Super Metroid. And it didn't disappoint. When I started playing a few days back, I expected to play an hour or 2 a day, and maybe finish it within a week or so. I was done the next day. Now, to be fair, Super Metroid isn't some 60-hour experience. It took me like 8 hours to complete. But that doesn't change the fact that I just wanted to play the game. I didn't get tired of it, and I think a lot of that comes down to its level design. Super Metroid's map isn't actually that large. I was able to memorize a lot of it throughout my playthrough, and as much as I would like to say it's because of my incredible navigational ability, it's mainly because many rooms feel distinct, so you often know exactly where you are without having to pull out your map. It also helps that many areas have these large, central rooms with many paths branching off of them, which greatly helps with navigation. However, despite being so small in reality, the world feels incredibly large, primarily because it's so dense. The map is constantly expanding not by unlocking new areas, but by unlocking new paths in old areas, and there are a ton of useful collectibles to find. This helps the player feel like they're constantly achieving something. Even when you're in the completely wrong area in terms of progression, there's still a lot of useful stuff to find, and if you're like me, you'll remember some of the rooms you couldn't solve before, and find your way back to them to try again. But even if you are traveling through an area with nothing new to find, it's still not boring, because this game's enemies will always keep you on your toes. Most of them aren't particularly hard, but there's often a ton of them thrown at you at once, so you always have to be ready to fight. These enemies shouldn't kill you very often, and health pickups are very common in this game, but they were still engaging enough to keep my monkey brain pushing the big purple buttons for hours on end. Unfortunately, I don't only have good things to say about this game. In fact, I think it has some major issues that almost ruined my experience on my first playthrough. And one of those is that some of these secrets are kinda really bullshit. I'm never a fan of false walls, even when they're telegraphed. I think it's incredibly stupid to expect players to be running against every wall they see on the off chance it just so happens to have a secret. This is made even worse by the fact that some of these passages require you to be in the morph ball, so it's easy to miss them even if you are running into every wall you see. I know the X-ray scope can reveal these false walls, but you always have to completely stop before scanning a wall, and it's completely optional and completely missable itself. And the worst part is that you need to find a bunch of these secrets to even stand a chance in Deep Norfair and against Ridley. Another major issue is control. Platforming is a big part of Super Metroid, but unfortunately I never felt like I was in full control of Samus. General aerial movement was way harder than you might imagine, and I never fully got the hang of it, not even by the end of the game. The biggest issue with control, however, was with the space jump. I swear, this thing just doesn't work. It's supposed to give you infinite mid-air jumps, and if you're just crossing a horizontal gap, it's easy to get in a rhythm and pull it off consistently. Unfortunately, I never got the hang of using it to ascend. It feels incredibly unreliable, and made ascending with the space jump, literally its primary use, a huge chore. However, despite these admittedly significant issues, I kept playing, and a big reason for that was the atmosphere. Super Metroid does a great job of making you feel isolated on an alien planet. The settings and creatures are somewhat unsettling, and there's almost a few jump scares, with moments like this skeleton breaking through the wall and this Metroid flying in out of nowhere. From the beginning, this game lets you know that you're never safe, with the safe room actually housing the first boss. This uneasy atmosphere is amplified by the honestly incredible soundtrack. It kept me going, even when I got stuck and kinda wanted to give up. And I'm glad I pushed through. While the game has some major issues, it still offers a lot of fun. I'd say the optimal way to play is using a walkthrough when you get stuck. That way I still got to experience the satisfaction of discovering secrets in my way around, but I was able to avoid being stumped by unfair secrets for too long. If you can get past some of the early Metroidvania bullshit, you'll definitely find a good game, and one that's absolutely worth your time. Or you could just play Hollow Knight.